Okay, you already saw this map when Gil did his, so I won't spend much time on here, but we are one of the largest electric utilities in the country, especially when you talk about transmission lines. And you can tell by looking at our map why, because we do stretch pretty wide and pretty broad, which as far as energy efficiency brings some interesting challenges. Number one, the air conditioning load and the needs for a customer in Midland is totally different than a customer in Athens or a customer in Tyler. A customer in Wichita Falls compared to a customer in Pflugerville. So we have a lot of different things out there, and we're going to talk real briefly about some of our programs. But first of all, everybody asks why we do energy efficiency. Well, the easy reason is we do energy efficiency because the Public Utility Commission of Texas mandates us to do that. As a 34-year employee with the company, I would like to think we would do it anyway because it is the right thing to do. And before incentives, don't shake your head, before incentives came out, before DREG, we were still doing those. We had long-term air conditioning rebates, we had all type of things. And let me stop for a second, and maybe it's splitting hairs, but to us it's a really big deal. Oncor does not do rebates. Rebates is you go to Home Depot, you buy a refrigerator, and the manufacturer sends you a $100 check. We do incentives. We incentivize customers, companies, whatever it may be, to do energy efficiency measures. The way the state law reads that our program is there to push the customer to go to the next level. Instead of buying a 14-SEER air conditioning, they buy a 16-SEER because of our incentive. You know, instead of putting CFL or fluorescent lighting, they put LED lighting. You know, so that's the type of reasons that we do incentives. So this is just kind of a down and dirty definition of why we look at. Energy efficiency is deemed to be one of the most efficient costs for services. And actually our incentives and our budgets are tied to the actual cost of generation in the state. So we get that, we get all those numbers, we get all those budget numbers, we get all that money, all those data from the state. It's all based to what it costs to do a generation that's based by state law. All of our funds are rate-based. So you as a customer of Oncor, let me take that back. You as somebody that has a meter, an Oncor meter on their home that pays our distribution and transmission charges, contributes to all of our energy efficiency programs. That's why we offer such a wide variety. That's why the customer outside of Monahans is just as important as the customer that's down in Malakoff. So the other thing in past years, the capacity, as we all know and you've heard today, that the capacity sometimes is not there. The ERS program that Jerry talked about, that ERCOT runs, is based on demand. That when the state grid cannot meet the demand, they actually pay large companies to reduce their power to make sure that you and I have air conditioning at our homes. So energy efficiency is the most cost-effective way to do that. The programs also do early adoption. Yes, I'm a native. And by the way, us in South Dallas, we call it Lancaster, not Lancaster. That's okay, Stephanie. I understand. It's also Italy, not Italy. Italy's over the Mediterranean. Italy is South 35. But energy efficiency programs, and a good example of this is the new home program, the Energy Star new home program that we used to hear so much about in our area. And Oncor won award year after year after year as an Energy Star partner for our new homes program. What's happened? You guys that work city governments, codes have gotten so high that in some cases you actually exceed Energy Star codes. And we're not going to pay incentives for something they got to do anyway. So we feel like our energy efficiency programs help drive those things to be adapted and be now industry norm. And that goes into the last bullet on the building codes. Just real quickly, we've got a whole suite of residential programs. I won't spend a lot of time on there because most of you guys are commercial. We do have a brochure in the back on energy efficiency tips that you can use for your homes. A lot of that's very adaptable to small businesses. But the main things that you see on here is, and really the guys today have done a better job of selling our programs than I ever would. You know, because we had everybody, DFW that Jerry mentioned, yeah, there's hurdles. Because it's ratepayer funds, we treat that like you do your taxes, you that work in government and schools. You know, you protect your taxpayers. We protect our ratepayers. We're audited by the state. We're liable for fines if we don't follow the rules and the laws. So yes, it can be very difficult to work with us because we have very high standards to give you that incentive money. You earn that incentive money to participate with us. But the commercial standard offer, the custom are things like if you have a something that's not a normal type of savings that we can monitor, we can check out and get the savings for. The commercial solar program, as we've seen huge increases in solar, that happens to be the program that I'm running right now. Between the residential and the commercial solar programs, we'll do over 1,000 installs in our service system this year, which is really interesting. Small Business Direct Install is another one that's a fairly new program that's out there that's focused on small businesses, mainly outside the Metroplex, but that program is growing and you're going to see more and more of that. And then the Commercial Load Management Program. Just to give you some examples, you heard from Mansfield today, when we started the Schools Facility Program, which was, you might know, a SCORE. I actually did run that program also. Mansfield was one of the first schools that we worked with. Mesquite ISD during that time, Midland Odessa, Kaufman ISD, Kennedale ISD, and then we also, a lot of the universities, well, cities first, a lot of the cities. City of Arlington, 7 or 8 years ago, we actually have gone through and did retrofits on their fire stations in their library. UT Dallas, as some alumni like to call it, the smart UT school. You know, they've been in our programs for a while. You know, UTA has done numerous projects. So it's a wide variety of things that we see. And then also companies like Target, Home Depots, Lowe's, those type of guys. But you know, for every one of those, there's 5 mom and pop stores that are out there that we've helped do new air conditioning or new lighting for. You know, we've done all these type of programs, and we're always changing these programs. We're a little bit changes, and I mean that. Well, sometimes the state law changes. Like next year, we're going to have some pretty big changes due to our EM and our measurement and verification results that are coming in. So we have to do those. Efficiency standards are improving. They're getting so much better. You know, you heard everybody talk about LED lightings. You know, some of that stuff now that's under 40 watts, putting out more lumens, more light. You know, those type of things are out there. So we've got to raise our standards to get you to go to that next level. So that's the whole purpose if we do that we do this. Last slide I had is of our website. Believe me, we did not want that name. TakeAloadOffTexas.com. You should try to tell people over the phone. I have to talk real slow, and I'm not normally a slow speaker. But that's our website, and you can see at the top there's some tabs: home, businesses, government, schools, nonprofits. You click on those, it'll take you down to all of the programs that we offer. On the right hand, on the green box on the right-hand side, there's a green box where you put in your zip code, and it'll give you a list of the service providers, contractors that are in our program. And that is a catch. In our programs, on the incentive side, on the residential side, we're not able to pay the incentive directly to the homeowner. We're not allowed. We don't have a billing relationship with that customer. So we have third-party contractors that apply for our programs that we approve, that come out here, that customers can call and get bids to come out, whether it's to add insulation, whether it's to do air conditioning, whether it's to do a solar program. On the commercial side, large commercial customers can be what we call a self-provider, which means you do actually come in and you do that. What that means, though, is you're responsible for everything in that project. You're responsible for the audits. You're responsible for the lighting counts. You're responsible for serial numbers, all that stuff. And Thea's shaking her head yes, because I know she does these spreadsheets and these things. But you also can hire additional another party, like some of your sponsors today, that can come in and do this work. So there's lots of ways to participate in our program. You can go to this website. It's got phone numbers and emails. The card at the back is on our commercial. I think it's got our address and some phone numbers on there. So, and I think my contact is published in there. So please reach out to us. We'd love to have you participate. Thank you.
So my name is Eddy Trevino. I manage the Lone Star Revolving Loan Program for the State Energy Conservation Office here in Austin. Now, if you're a public entity, meaning if you're a public K-12 school, public university, local government, county government, higher ed, state agency, this is the program you should consider. We've got money, number one. Number two, we've got a low interest rate. And number three, we've been doing this since '89. Just so you know, we've got over 300 loans. We've never had a default in the history of our program. And so what that means is we've got a good check and balance system. And with a good check and balance system, it not only protects us as the lender, it protects all of y'all as the borrowers, okay? All of our loans require investment-grade audits. We have a very prescribed method for our investment-grade audits, and we have all of these audits reviewed by independent third-party engineers. This is a good thing for y'all. It's a good thing for us, okay? And so we have an open application period right now. It actually ends and closes November 15th. Write that down, Chad. You need to know that. Okay? And what happens is if we commit money to your project by November 15th, you'll have a certain prescribed amount of time to submit an investment-grade audit. And then again, we'll review it, but you've got money set aside. Our maximum loan size is $7.5 million for each loan. For each application period, we allow 2 applications or 2 loans. So you think about it, you have access for up to $15 million for this open application period. When we open it back up in January or February of next year, that's going to be another $15 million you would have access to. You need to take advantage. It's a really, really good program. And like I said, we've got checks and balances. They're there to protect us. They're there to protect you. And it's a really good program. One of the things, we've talked, Sam, we've had, using an example for local governments, we've had 56 loans to local governments. Average loan size is probably about $4.5 million, and average payback's probably, about 8.5 years is what the average payback is. Now, one of the things that we have that's required of our loans is really simple. Each measure has to pay for itself within the estimated useful life of the measure, and the total project has to pay for itself within 10 years or less, unless half of your project or more is an HVAC replacement. We have a little twist there in that we can go up a little longer because it takes longer for HVAC projects to pay for themselves. Now, each measure paying for itself, it's a real simple reason for that. You have CFOs, they have to go before commissions, they have to go before boards, and you have people that pick apart these loans, right? And so what you have to do is every part of the loan has to make financial sense. And so this way you don't have any pet projects. Everything's of value and everything's good for the project. So if you have any questions, I should have gone through my slideshow. If you have any questions, call me, let me know. I know these will be posted on the website here after the presentations are all over. But I hope you take advantage, because remember this, you're going to pay money for your electricity, right? Do you want to pay it to the utility company, or do you want to take some of those dollars and use it for improvements to your facilities? It's your choice, because ours has a much better return on the investment than the utilities does. All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eddie. So how many of you guys have heard of PACE before? Yeah, so pretty much everybody at this point. Luckily, I won't spend too much time talking about what PACE is, but I will give kind of an overview of what PACE is and how it's being deployed in Texas. Eddie spoke about the public sector version of financing for energy efficiency. PACE is the private sector, kind of the counterpart to that, right? So this is a way of financing energy efficiency projects in the commercial sector. Now, if you talk to a commercial business owner, property owner, do you want to, make your building more efficient? Do you want to write a smaller check to Oncor every month? Without question, they're going to say yes, right? The problem is when they see the price tag for that project. These projects are very expensive. They have very high capital cost in many cases, and they have very long paybacks. Well, PACE is designed to fix that problem, right? It's a way to do an efficiency project that is going to both lower your utility cost and your operating cost, and yet at the same time increase your bottom line by increasing your net operating income. That's a concept that, normally you think those two things are at odds with each other, but because PACE is a long-term financing option, it enables you to do these capital projects and spend no money out of pocket and actually make money from a cash flow perspective from the very beginning. Really, the value proposition of PACE is that it is a long-term financing option. It's 100%. It's available for the entire cost of your efficiency project. Obviously, hard costs, materials and labor included, but also soft cost if there's any engineering cost or anything ancillary. The entire cost of that project can be financed using PACE. As I mentioned, it is the goal is that we're going to require an analysis that shows just what is the benefit of that project versus the cost. And really what we're looking for is that the savings from that project are going to outweigh the debt service, so that in that manner we're actually adding cash to your business from the very beginning. A really simple concept: if you save more than you pay, the difference every year is cash flow, right? So that is PACE in a nutshell, rather than a simple payback program where you're having to focus on ROI and payback metrics. Really, we're talking about cash flow. Example of a few projects we did about a month ago in Austin. Siemens Properties, a large commercial mall owner, they used PACE financing on 3 of their mall facilities in one day in the Austin area to do a holistic retrofit, HVAC, LED, water savings, building controls, all of it all at once. This is kind of our marquee projects to date in Texas. I know there's a lot of local government folks here, so I wanted to really quick run through kind of how to create a program and how we could assist with that. The Texas PACE statute prescribes a number of steps that you have to go through to create a program. And we get this question a lot. Well, how can I bring PACE to my local area? Because it is only available in a few areas in the state right now. And the law is very prescriptive about what a city or a county has to do. I've listed the steps there. Essentially, there has to be a series of resolutions and a public hearing, a report on how the program is to be run. And at the end of the day, the county or the city has to figure out how they want to run it. How is it actually going to be administered? In Texas, we use what's we refer to as the next evolution of PACE. We operate under this model that we term PACE in a box. A few of the big features of that is that it is an open market program in Texas. The property owner, the business owner, gets to choose where do they source their capital from. We don't use bond funds here in Texas. And I guess the other big sell for what we're doing here is using this PACE in a box model. We're able to keep a uniform program around the state. And I've thrown a map up here of California. This is really where PACE originated, and as you can see, there's so many different districts and administrators out there that I hear all the time about how confusing it can be out there. But what we've chosen to do in Texas, if I were to put a map of Texas PACE up there, it would be one single color, so that PACE in Dallas is the same as El Paso, as Houston, really everywhere around the state. And we do that because we have contractors, capital providers, property owners that operate in multiple places around the state, and they want to use a program which is consistent. So just kind of highlights, where is PACE at today? Most notably in this area, it's live in the city of Dallas. You probably also know we have programs in Austin, Houston, the Valley, and El Paso, as well as Brazos County as of a couple weeks ago. So that's about it. My organization, the Texas PACE Authority, we're the administrator of the program here in the city of Dallas, as well as those other jurisdictions I mentioned. So we're kind of a private company, a nonprofit, 501c3, and we work in Dallas with Heather and her office in administering the program.
So we've been working on the PACE program, getting it implemented within the city of Dallas for about 2 years, but don't let that scare you, because we were part of the PACE in the Box effort that Jonathan talked about, and we were on some of those stakeholder teams. So I don't think it would take any other city that long. We were kind of special in that regard. And one of the things that we liked for PACE for the city of Dallas is it became another tool in our economic toolbox, economic development toolbox. Our PACE program is not led in our Office of Environmental Quality. It's led from our Office of Economic Development, and that's in part because of the assessments that go on the property, so it's like our PID program. And we really thought it was a good tool for our in commercial buildings and our multifamily housing. And as we've been going through this, our nonprofit sector is really interested in doing some of this too. So that was what we thought the kind of the get was for Dallas. As Jonathan mentioned, the statute requires creating a report, publishing a report. We published that on our website, which was required by the statute, and in our office, and not a single person came to City Hall to look at it. Shocking, even though it's 60 pages of brilliance. Nobody wanted to read, well, people downloaded it off the website, but nobody came to get a physical copy. We did a council resolution for the intent to create. We also held a public hearing where we had a couple people testify, which if you know city government, that's a pretty good turnout. You know, people are interested and they're coming, that's exciting. And then we had the resolution to establish the PACE program, which we passed in May of 2016. One of the things that we did differently, Jonathan mentioned the decision point on do you want to administer it in-house or do you want to have somebody else administer it? We decided to, obviously with the rest of the state, have somebody else administer it, but we actually went through an RFP process, and that took a long time. It took like 8 months, really a long time. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then one of the other things that we had to decide early on is if we wanted a city program or a county program. And we ended up going with just a City of Dallas program. I think initially we thought we might be able to do a big Dallas County program, but we had council pushing us kind of to move forward quickly, and we had some private sector interest to move forward quickly. Dallas is a big city, we have a lot of buildings, and so we ended up just deciding to do a city program. The county's welcome to join us, or anybody's welcome to join us once they're ready, but we ended up launching just as the city. So talking a little bit about the RFP process, I submitted the RFP to our procurement office in July, and we had an award in May. So that, what, 10 months? Yeah, 10 months. And that was not what we were thinking it was going to take, but it did, and so we're okay with that now. What we liked about it was that it allowed us to, we actually got 4 bids, and so we were allowed, it gave us an opportunity to review multiple third-party administrators, and they all have different fee structures. So it was really nice to see how these other programs would stack up. We had already written our draft report, so it had laid out how we wanted our program to operate, and it was very similar to the PACE in the Box model. We made a couple of tweaks, like the City of Dallas is actually signing the documents. We're not ceding that power to the Texas PACE Authority. So there are a few things that our attorneys really wanted in our PACE report, but it's substantially similar to all the programs across the state. And then when we did the RFP process, we stressed that you had to allow for open financing. That is kind of the key component of the Texas PACE program, and that's something that we, even if they hadn't affiliated, the for-profits often have affiliated lenders, and they could be a lender, but they couldn't preclude other entities from lending with it, and so that was a really key component of our RFP. And then the other thing that we stressed was that we as a city didn't want to fund any startup costs for the program to run. So we wanted this to be absolutely no cash out of our city pockets, and we wanted, actually we have a small provision to get a little bit of cash back, but I'm guessing that's not something they would like us to have every city do. And so we did get 4 responses. We had 2 for-profits and we had 2 nonprofit responses. So there is a market out there, so if other cities are interested in doing it, it is nice to see kind of what the competition is saying. And one of the challenges that our procurement office had was that because we had a no-cost program to the city, they had a really hard time scoring cost. Because if the cost is 0, we're not paying anything out of pocket, how do you count a number? But all these administrators are getting a fee structure from the deal, and so there is a cost, and it's capturing that. And so we had to make up fake portfolios and run different models, and I went to an inquisition with our purchasing department. It was a lot of fun. But after all that, we did get TPA, and we're thrilled that we are under contract, and we're live, and we're operating. One other thing that might help other cities is we've done all this work. The PACE statute allows joint implementation of programs, and so that's section 399.017 if you want to look up the legislation. And it's section C that says 1 or more local governments may contract with a third party, including another local government, to administer a program. So you would be able to join our program. You'd still have to do your own council resolutions. You'd still have to do your own report, but you could certainly use ours as a base model and then just plug and play the other pieces that you wanted to. As we continue to kind of operate, We have two websites that are kind of helping people. One is our Dallas TPA site, and this is hosted by TPA, and it's targeted for the Dallas region. It shows the events that are going on in this area. We have co-branded some flyers that are industry specific, so we have one for commercial lending, we have one for nonprofits, and we have one for industrial, and all those are available for download. It has the contact information for TPA, and it also has an eligibility check so you can look and see if your project is a good fit for PACE. And then we also have our city website, and this is if you want to do, this is kind of how we got our program up. So it has the presentation we took to our Economic Development Committee, it has our PACE report, it's kind of the nuts and bolts of government stuff if you want to copy what we have done. And then finally, our service area is just the city of Dallas. We are not allowed to really, we don't have any ETJ, so we're limited to just the city of Dallas. We are hopeful that we will have some projects first quarter 17, right? Yeah. So it's taken a little longer than we thought, but right now we're heavily into marketing. And one of the areas that, I think our downtown business is ripe for PACE. Our business corridor is very interested. We have a couple deals there. And our nonprofit sector is the other area that we're really excited that we might have some PACE opportunities. I had a meeting at a private nonprofit recreation center, and their HVAC system is so old when they do the service they had to remove the wall. And so that's the kind of thing where they just haven't had the money to do the operational improvements, but they're like, what? We could, there's money to do this and we don't have to pay out of pocket? And so they're really excited about it. And so that's the kind of thing that we're excited about as we're moving forward with the program. And that, I think, is all I had. Oh, and then this, I work on it with Kevin, so if you have any questions, holler or email either one of us.
Well, thank you to our panel. At this point, we'll take some questions. Does anybody have any questions?